The program you're about to watch is underwritten by Allergan. The views expressed therein are solely those of the doctors. We all know that wrinkles can make you look older, but did you know that splotchy, uneven skin can age you just as much? I'm Dr. Jeanine Downie. I'm a board-certified dermatologist. I do a ton of cutting-edge cosmetic clinical trials. I think it's really important for me to stay on the forefront. Part of my passion is just making people put their best face forward. As a child, I struggled with my skin, and I know what it's like to want that even, glowing, spotless complexion. It's what led me to become a dermatologist. Today we're going to be tackling splotches and blotches, patches of skin on your face or your body that don't blend in with everything else. We'll also debunk common skin myths, answer a question from one of our glow-getters, and you'll even get a look into my personal handbag to see an item that I absolutely can't live without. It's all coming up on The Gist.
Meet 5 of the most sought-after dermatologists in the country.
The most important part of the show is we have the truth. We own the truth.
It's our behind the scenes. There's no filter. It's like all the conversations we have in the breaks.
It's going to be so fun to kind of share some of our favorite things like shoes or travel tips, relationships.
Travel tips are great.
Do you guys remember that commercial from, I think it was the 80s?
Well, I was just born in the 80s.
It's all coming up on The Gist.
To the dermatologist.
The dermatologist.
When I was 11, I got hit hard with acne. My face was red with giant cystic pimples for years. Strangers would stop me in the street and tell me, if you just washed your face. And then after being a lifeguard for several years at about the ages of 19 or 20, I was diagnosed with melasma, which is patchy hyperpigmentation. One of the main reasons I became a dermatologist was to learn how to heal my own skin. And now that I have, I'm passionate about helping others do the same. Regular application of sunblock, cosmeceuticals, not picking your skin, and using science-based technology to improve how you look is the basis for an even complexion. But also, something that I help my patients attain is light reflectance off the face. To do this in a truly beautiful, natural way, you need even skin tone. I find it's what most women and men want. Doris, how does sun exposure affect your skin, and what do you tell your patients about that?
The problem with sun exposure is that it's cumulative. So from your first exposure as a child all the way through to wherever you are now, every time you go in the sun, we know very specific things happen to the skin at all levels of the skin. And that causes damage that will show up 30 and 40 years later. So I tell my patients, nothing looks more beautiful in your 50s than sun protection in your 20s. And so the younger you start and get into a routine, the better you're going to look later.
I love that. Ruth, what's the deal with the skin brightening creams and the fading creams? And I know your patients ask you these questions up in Massachusetts.
So there are many different pathways that produce more increased melanin. And melanin is that pigment that is transferred from one cell to another in your skin and causes uneven pigmentation. We try to block all of those pathways, and they're all blocked by different agents. Some of them are milder, some of them are a little stronger. In my practice, I try to hit them from all angles and give patients definitely more than one product to use, but the most important thing is basically using their sunscreen, and they say they use it, but using it often.
Got it. Sabrina, what's the difference between oily and shiny skin, in your opinion?
That's a good one. I would say that with oily skin, perhaps you're just creating excess sebum production. And so with that, for me, I think I'd probably say it's about the same thing. So that excess sebum production from our oil glands is what creates that shiny film that some of our patients, especially the ones that have acne, complain of.
Right. But isn't sebum, isn't that our own natural moisturizer?
I agree that it creates, but I think that some people experience it a little bit too much. And so then they're constantly using blotting papers to kind of remove it
Do you try
off their face.
Tell them that they'll age slower or anything like that? Or
well, there are studies to support that those that have oily skin, you know, that's sometimes what I tell myself from having suffered acne when I was younger, is that those that have oily skin tend to have less wrinkles.
And speaking of acne, Ava, what do you tell your patients that want to pop pimples?
Oh my God, that is like the one huge no-no.
Right,
Do
right.
not touch your pimples because
Right.
you run the risk of transferring bacteria from your fingers onto your face, spreading an infection across your face, and then, worst of all, you can contribute to the formation of a true acne scar, which would be an indentation, or what people call acne scars, which is the pigmentation, the brown spot that follows after the
How about the
pimple,
fact that
right?
once you pick your face, that mark lasts 3 times as long. And every one of us had one of those marks on our face and went to high school like this. And the bottom line is, as soon as you touch it, your fingernails are millimeters thick, go down to the dermis, and you're scarred.
Or you
Yeah,
try
yeah,
to cover
yeah.
up with like bad makeup that's, that's not non-comedogenic.
Or oil-based makeup.
Or it's oil-based. Some of these like, like kind of more stage makeups
Right.
to conceal it.
Right.
And then that contributes to
Right.
even more breakout.
Right. And Doris, what do you tell your patients about moles and skin tags when they want to take off moles and skin tags to improve their light reflectance and their even skin tone?
You know, I've been surprised where something that looks like a mole on the surface, we take it off, I always send it to the lab for diagnosis, can surprise you. So it's something that should be evaluated by your dermatologist so you know exactly what you're looking at and you know it's just a mole or a skin tag.
Right.
And then we can remove it, ideally without leaving a mark behind at all. But also we see more moles in areas where there's more sun exposure. So it's not always where there's sun exposure, but they tend to come out more with sun over time.
Right.
So sun protection can help against those coming out as well. And then see your dermatologist, know what you're dealing with before you have it removed.
And I'm really strict about my wound care. I have them with a healing cream and sunblock, and many times with like some type of a hydroquinone vitamin C formulation to fade the dark spot that can be left after you take a dark spot off. You get the trauma dark spot. So I have them with a significant post-healing routine that they have to adhere to. I think that's critical.
The other issue that comes up all the time, people say, my acne gets better when I'm in the sun. And we have to take a deep breath and say, no, 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 no. You may dry the surface of your skin, but then what's going to happen 2 weeks later? You're going to make more oil. So
I know, but
that
sometimes
feedback loop.
I think there is something to it though, because the sun is immunosuppressive to the skin,
Right.
and there is an immune response in acne. So I think for some people it probably does help a little bit, but we have so many better things that we can do, whether it's lasers or hydrofacial or other treatments that we do in office or with home care in terms of prescription and cosmeceuticals to help treat the acne, that we are so advanced that we don't need to count on those UV rays.
And I don't believe that it does help a little bit. So this is where we
do.
disagree, because I think that basically you get an immediate improvement, and then
and
later
the long-term
on you're going to get
I
a
agree
flare.
with you on that, but that immediate improvement, plus they feel that the tan hides the redness and the marks.
Right, all of
so
which
they're
are
going for the
bad.
immediate gratification every time, but we know the long-term risks are much worse.
Yeah, they're
Right,
going to
there's
end up with wrinkles
Of course.
and brown spots
And,
and
and
acne.
rosacea and
And
melasma.
And more oil.
And more acne.
and
Indeed.
more oil and
Yeah.
more
Indeed.
acne
Yeah. Makes me
ultimately.
nuts.
So
No doubt
yeah,
about it.
no,
There's
it's
great
absolutely the
lasers
worst
like
thing.
photodynamic therapy treatments that can not only help close down some of those oil glands to help improve the appearance of acne, but also not
But
damage
that's
our
also
skin.
controversial because
Right.
blue light
It is
we
controversial.
talk about now as treating acne, and we do it in our offices, but now we worry about blue light from our cell phones and from just being
Right.
outdoors. So we
But
get
it's
lots of questions.
It's different dosing. So
Exactly.
it's different dosing and it's different ranges of exposure. And so I think that that's where there's a little bit of maybe misinformation out in the public. So what we're
That's why we're
administering
here.
in our office is a little different than the chronic blue light that you get from perhaps your
And I
screen.
like chemical peels also. Let's
Yeah.
not forget about
Yeah,
those.
absolutely.
I like all kinds. I like the superficial peels. I like the medium depth peels. They just have to be tailored for that individual person's skin tone. But I like those a lot.
And I really think it's really important to emphasize that at-home skincare twice a day, every day, is the best treatment for acne. I mean, we can, you can come into our offices and have all these exotic and advanced treatments and everything, but if you go home and you don't treat your acne or your melasma or your pigmentation twice a day, every day, you're not going to get anywhere. It's going to come right back.
And it's not just what you apply to treat that acne, but it's also the makeup that you may be using that's worsening your acne. So making sure that it's oil-free and non-comedogenic.
But it's not about
Absolutely.
having dirty skin, so that person was
not.
wrong, and
Yeah.
they were not very nice either.
Exactly. Okay. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for your ideas and your thoughts on this. It sounds like we can all agree that even skin tone is the basis for beauty. Up next, we're going to take a look at what's in my bag and see the one item that I always have with me. You'll find out next. Now let's get to what everyone wants to know. What's in my bag? So, you won't be surprised after today's segment but it's sunscreen. It's a powder puff sunblock called Color Science. We match it in all skin types. It is fabulous, and you just brush it on. My patients love it. I love it. Protects you from UVA and UVB light, the blue light of your phone, and even infrared light. It's tiny, so you can keep it in your pocketbook, in your pocket, and it makes my patients not have the excuse that they can't reapply their sunblock. So reapply away. And that's what's in my bag. This next segment we call GISTbusters. As doctors, we get asked a lot of the same questions by our patients. Many of them are myths or common practices that we want to settle once and for all. So today, I would like to answer the question, olive and dark-skinned people don't have to wear sunscreen, right?
Wrong.
So this makes me nuts, and my patients are always shocked when I talk to them about the fact that I wear sunscreen every day, 365 days a year, regardless of whether I'm staying inside or going outside, that we react to both indoor and outdoor lighting as human beings. Anyone that has skin has to protect it from the sun, and that's all there is to it. And you know what the kicker is? When I have them look at my chest, my neck, and my face, and they're all the same color. And then they look at themselves and they realize, oh my gosh, my chest is 2 shades lighter than my face because of, oh, I guess I do get sun damage. And that's when it clicks for them. Ladies, dig in. Ruth, I want your comments first.
Well, the most amazing thing is that people think they have to put their sunblock on once a day. And what the answer that I get all the time, hearing the same question over and over, is, oh yeah, I have it in my makeup. Not enough. That sunblock is good for about 90 minutes, number one, and usually it's not even half as much as you need to put on to give yourself protection.
Right. And to build on that, the only thing they have to put it once a day if it's sunny out. So we see the worst sunburns on cloudy days.
Right.
So it's several times a day, every day, all year round.
Misconception. UVA goes through windshield glass. It
Right.
goes through clouds.
Right.
And there's
Right.
lots of damage now from UVA.
Right.
We used to think UVB was the only thing that gave us a redness after the sun. But that's just UVB giving redness, which is your SPF. UVA is all the time.
And we see that all the time in California with the driving, with the hands. So we
Right.
sell gloves in our office because people's hands, you're driving in the car and you get a lot of UVA in through the windshield.
Right.
And it's really a problem. I also think that it's interesting looking at studies that have been done on Africans that they, even with very deep skin tones, there's the same amount of elastotic damage
Right.
deep in the skin as you
Right.
would see in a lighter skinned person.
Right.
So
I have my African patients that are shocked when they come in and they tell me they think they got a burn and their skin feels tingly or weird and it was a cloudy day, and I tell them the same thing that you guys all just said. 77% of the sun's rays penetrate through the clouds according to the Skin Cancer Foundation, even on a cloudy day. And my patients kind of look at me like this. Especially my dark skin patients.
I got my worst sunburn when I was in medical school, lying on the beach in San Diego. I was like, there's no sun, there's no sun. Deep cloud cover, blisters.
Oh. And I think the reason people don't reapply is because they don't want to ruin their makeup.
That's right.
And so now we have brushes like Color Science and others that are mineral based and they have many different shades, so they can easily be reapplied on top of makeup without a problem.
And so we need to reapply the sunscreen. This is what I explain to my patients. Put it on every couple of hours.
Yes.
Put on your cream sunblock at 8 o'clock. Put on a powder at 11. Put on a powder at 2. Put on a powder at 4.
But also
it's great for you,
smart.
and then your pore size is smaller. You're going to get less speckly.
Yeah.
Just you have to reapply.
Keep
and
it in your
reapply and
car.
reapply.
Keep it in your purse.
Right.
Keep it everywhere.
Right.
One box,
So that's
one
what I
bottle,
want
not
to drum
enough.
home.
But I think for some
100%.
people, it's still not going to be enough, because no matter how much sun protection you're using, you're never going to block out 100% of UV rays, even if you're using an SPF of 100. So it's really about being sun smart. It's trying to avoid midday sun, wearing a hat, sunglasses, staying in the shade when you can,
Oral
wearing
agents.
physical protection, and oral agents.
Right.
There's one supplement you can buy, that Mediterranean diet can also help. You can eat some of your sunscreen, but if you don't use sun protection, you will burn.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and then it's an SPF of 30 every day.
Or higher.
Or higher. Rain or shine, January through December, regardless of your ethnicity.
And I always recommend for people to have a floppy hat that you just fold up. We keep one in the car because so many moms, they go to their soccer games or dads or whatever. Forget about handbags.
We're gonna blow out later.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect,
Hats, a
ladies.
scarf to wrap around, cover up,
Perfect.
because you want to block off that sun.
Absolutely. So that's it. Let's dispel that myth right now that olive and dark-skinned people don't have to wear sunscreen. It's a must. Up next, we get a question from one of our glow getters.
Hi, my name is Akila, and I am the executive director of a nonprofit here in New York City. As a woman of color, I'm always wondering if there are certain products, brands, or chemicals that are better for my skin type. Right now, I just use a daily cleanser and moisturizer and a mask once a week, but I always wonder about scarring and any long-term differences with African American skin. Thanks so much.
So from my perspective, for somebody like her, I would just have to say the main thing is to keep her skin tone even. So a lot of people will use these toners for their face. So I would tell her no toner, a sunblock with an SPF of 30 or more, probably a gentle skin cleanser, and I would reach for antioxidants and growth factor
And
because
notice-
she's in her early 30s. So that's what I would say to Miss Akila.
And notice she didn't even say sunscreen when she was speaking. So it's really interesting that she didn't think she needed it.
She did not think she needed it, and that's just really sad.
Have you found that women or men with skin of color tend to be more sensitive to skincare?
They can be sensitive to some things and not other things. A lot of African Americans, Caribbean Americans, Latinos really can have really dry underlying skin or combination skin. Now, if they're using African black soap or a lot of things that strip their skin even more, that's worse. So a lot of the things that you can get from these mom and pop ethnic pharmacies can exacerbate issues in ethnic skin. So maybe perhaps a yes to that. Thank you, ladies. Even skin tone is attainable. It's my calling to have people do the right thing so they can improve their complexions. Regular application of sunblock, cosmeceuticals, not picking their skin, and using science-based technology to improve how you look is the basis for an even complexion. You get the gist.
When it comes to facial treatments, how much is too much? Find out on The Gist.